Marvin Carr. I'm the Chief Technology Office OSTP intern. If you have a handwritten name tag, raise your hand. Perfect, perfect. Not perfect, right? Um, and so before you eat your lunch today, when you get to 4:30, we're going to have everyone brand new, nicely word processed hand name tags. And be sure you pick those up. And so if you did not have your name notated on the list that you need another name tag, please do so when you leave. Thank you.
You guys are in the line, so we're just going to wait a couple more people come through waves.
Good morning, everyone. Oh, come on. Good morning, everyone. All right, there we go. Are you fired up? All right, all right. And welcome to everybody joining us online right now. So welcome to the Whitehouse, everybody. How many of you, raise your hand if it's the first time you've been to the Whitehouse, raise your hand. So quite a few people are raising their hands, right? How many of you have been here more than one time, raise your hand. Okay, a little fewer, a little bit more. It's always a privilege and honor to be at the White House and to have all of you join us, both physically and virtually, and to sort of gather the extraordinary ideas from across the country, which is why you're here. And we're going to get into it a little bit more about why we're here, but we want to say a few things before I introduce our few speakers. So please join us on social media at hashtag WHMeetup. We'd love for you to share your ideas live. If you hear something that someone says up here today, we'd love for you to engage with them. If they're asking for help on something, we'd love for you to hop online and see what you can do to connect with them. We want this to be a really interesting and fun day. And so we're going to kick off our day with someone who I personally really have grown to love from afar, because I don't get to work with Megan every single day, but she's someone who's quite extraordinary. I want to take a moment to introduce her to you. So Megan Smith is the United States Chief Technology Officer and Assistant to the President of the United States. Before becoming the first female U.S. CTO, Megan was vice president at Google, first leading new business development, where she managed early-stage partnerships, pilot explorations, and technology licensing across Google's global engineering and product teams for 9 years, and later serving as a VP in the leadership team at Google X, where she co-created the company's Solve for X Innovation Community Project, as well as its Women Tech Makers, a tech diversity initiative, and worked on a range of other projects while at Google. During her tenure, she led the company's acquisitions of major platforms such as Google Earth, Google Maps, and Picasa, as well as serving as the GM of Google.org during its engineering transition, adding Google Crisis Response, Google for Nonprofits, and Earth Outreach engines, and increased employee engagement, all under her leadership and her tenure there. Megan previously served as the CEO of Planet Out, a leading LGBT online community in the early days of the web. But what I think makes her really special here is her energy and passion for connecting people across the federal government, in the White House, and making sure that the work that she does here touches the lives of Americans and everyone around the world. Please join me in welcoming the United States Chief Technology Officer, Megan Smith.
Hello, everybody. Okay, I put on my jeans and my Fed jacket, so I'm like looking sort of tech and a little bit White House. So it's great to be here with you guys. You know, everybody in this room, just first thanks to everyone for getting here. You're from, I think, almost 40 states. You represent not only the amazing tech meetup communities that are sort of all over our country, there's also, in addition to that incredible core, innovators in sort of startup incubators, folks who are doing really interesting work with all different communities in our country who haven't necessarily always been in tech, just innovating across the board, some Internet of Things people, just everywhere. So really are happy to have you here. We have some folks who are more the government side, some folks who are from bigger companies, some folks who are from brand new startups, folks who are doing nonprofit work, a lot of community organizing and sort of getting things done on that side. So it's great to have you here. I guess the main thing that all of you share is this passion for getting things done on the things that you believe need to happen in this country. Some of them are deeply around economic development and innovation. Some of them are about inclusion and communities. And they really, you know, we're here in the White House, as Raphael said, it's such an honor to be here. This is sort of the nexus where our whole country comes together. And you think about the giants on which we stand on their shoulders. And even sort of the community organizers nature of our founders and the cross-functionality of them. And, you know, they were techies too. So you think of Benjamin Franklin and George Washington. These folks were, of course, incredible civic leaders and the leaders in the founding of our country, Thomas Jefferson, but they also were techies too. You know, Washington is famous for his work in surveying and geo and mapping, and how important is mapping, you know, today, and it continues. Benjamin Franklin, of course, an extraordinary statesman, but he also, you know, in the internet of the day was print. And, you know, what a famous printer. And he also, a lot of people don't know that he deployed his apprentices out to the colonies to make sure that the printing process and the printing process were really strong in all the colonies. Sort of an interesting thing. So thinking about the internet of their day. You know, the women weren't at the table in the way they are now. And a lot of different groups weren't at the table, but I'd always think, I love the book where Abigail and John Adams' correspondence is clear, so they were actually there. They just might not have been physically in all of the paintings and allowed in the room, but their voices were there in some cases, and certainly in their leadership. So I just want to sort of note that historic moment of where we stand on their shoulders and what is it that our time is about. And to me, you represent those innovators just like them, you know, who are leading the field, leading the front, across all the topics that you guys are personally passionate about, and getting that done in your communities. Because really, at the end of the day, everything really happens in place. It happens locally. It happens in our communities, even if it's a scaled idea that can go all around the world. So it's the best of us. It also, you guys represent something new that we have, which is sort of the internet. You know, we hadn't had that before, and there's, have anybody in here ever heard of or read the Clue Train Manifesto of old? Yeah, there's a couple of people. And there's a new publication those guys came out with called New Clues. And it's a list, the first one is really interesting because it says the internet is not some plumbing or some computers or some whatever. It's just us, connected. And I love thinking about that. The good side of that is we're bringing all these incredible things we do online and interconnecting. Of course, we bring some of our bad stuff too, right? So some of our misogyny and racism and all that stuff comes into the internet too. But mostly we're bringing the good, and we can use the internet to try to reduce a lot of those things. And by it becoming more visible, we can leverage that. One of the things in the clues, number 1 is, of course, the internet's us. Number 12 is a really interesting one. It says there hasn't been an invention as profound since language. I love thinking about that, because I feel like we're like in the pre-Model T days of what we're going to use this medium for. And you guys are on the bleeding edge front of that as folks who use this new technology to bring human beings, bring people throughout your community together on all the things they and you are passionate about in all these areas. So I'm glad we're here together, and I think that this is really the beginning of something interesting. So we have 3 goals today with everybody. So the structure you can see this morning, we're here in South Court, and we're going to hear amazing spotlight rounds from lots of different folks. Every single person in this room could come up here and tell you a spotlight thing that they're doing. You are doing extraordinary things. So we did kind of a mix and grabbed about half folks who are doing Meetup work with the Meetup team and things that are happening in all kinds of places, different states, and different takes that people have. And I think that's going to be interesting to folks to see that. And then a cross mix of about half people are innovating in different ways with particular communities, startup centers, youth outreach, et cetera. So that's going to be interesting. There's 3 themes you can see on the agenda. One is more about education and skills. The second one is more around innovation and, entrepreneurship. And the third one is tech for social change and economic development. So we'll run through those rapid fire, and that should be pretty fun. And then after that, and then also Scott's going to lead us on a meetup of the meetup right before that, in between Jeff speaking. In the afternoon, we have an unconference. So it's to be decided what we will talk about. But everyone in this room has something to bring, and so I encourage everyone to sign those things up. The goal we have are sort of threefold in doing that work. The first one is we want to capacity build each other. We want to hear about amazing things people have already invented, and cross-share that and really help each other take this to a whole other level that you guys have done and you will do. The second one is there's a lot more neighbors in all of our communities who aren't in on this game. And so how can we work together to figure out our distribution inclusion strategy for all these folks? And I just wanted 3 quick stories. One is about a friend of mine who, 2 friends who were walking by a guy who was homeless, always seeing him on the street. So one day this guy decided to ask him a question. He said, I could give you some money and help you out, or I could give you a laptop and teach you to code. Which one would you like? And the guy chose the coding, and his startup's already made $14,000. So maybe we could think differently about all our other neighbors who are out there. And so I think he's someone to keep in mind. Who are the people who are stuck for whatever reason, whatever circumstance, aren't in on this game, who are there? The other one I think about is our youth. The My Brother's Keeper folks, Michael Smith is here, I think, or he may not have come in, but he's speaking today. It is not okay that 1 out of 3 African-American boys are going to jail. And there's no reason why we're doing that as a country. And what are we doing to include them in our world? So everyone in this room could do something about that if you're passionate about it, and I hope you are, because those are extraordinary kids that we need to pull into this. And I think about them every day. How are we pulling those kids in and all the kids like them? I was in Afghanistan when I was working at Google, and I remember one of the security guys telling us about landing into Kandahar. And every day they were landing, and he would look out, and this little boy would run out of his house and lie on top of his roof. And he thought, why is that kid doing it? He likes planes. One day they happened to be near there, so he visited the kid's house. And he found out from the kid that he was running out of his house to lie on top of the solar collector so that it didn't break. Right? So think about him. He's the talented kid that we want to unlock and bring into this community. There's no reason why he can't become one of the main leaders of Afghanistan, just like the kids in our country. So those are the images that I want you guys to be thinking about, because we collectively are such community organizers, and we have these superpowers of tech, and we have each other, and so we can figure out how to pull these folks in. So we're going to think about that, and as part of that, we in the White House, Jeff Zients, who's one of my amazing colleagues, is about to come up and talk about one of our initiatives, which is called Tech Hire, and a bunch of his vision around, he leads the National Economic Council. And so how are we getting Americans in onto this amazing economy that you guys are part of, and how are we lifting the economy in general and the amazing strategies that his team are doing. And throughout the day, you're going to hear from different leaders about whether it's Connect Ed. Only 30% of our classrooms in class are online. Like, that's a crazy thing. What could we do in our local community to help those superintendents? How can we organize ourselves? Our veterans, what are we doing to pull them into these jobs? What are we doing with our women and girls, with our tribal folks, with our innovation ideas? Some of the US Ignite folks are here working on super high-speed internet ideas that we could have too. The Internet of Things are coming, so are we bringing our mayors and sort of playing with the city and our universities? Are we doing these things together? And how we're bringing TQ, I call it, our tech skills, like EQ, IQ, into all those parts of our city that we could have. Climate change, and one of my favorite ones is the 100-year anniversary of the national parks coming up. And there's a strategy, could we have every kid in a park this year? How do we do that, and how can we organize ourselves to make that happen? And so people are working on that. So, in that, I think we'll have deep impact on climate and on perspective and on health and everything. So I'm going to end there, and Jeff's going to come up. Just want to thank Scott and the amazing Meetup team, our team with Matthew and Aiden and Marvin and others for pulling this together. It's going to be an awesome day. And I've known Scott since the beginning of the internet, and he's one of the most extraordinary community organizers I know. So after Jeff comes up, I think he's going to lead us on a meetup of the meetups. So my colleague, Jeff Zients.
So Megan is one of the coolest things that's happened in this White House since I've been here. The TQ is evident everywhere, and it gives us a boost of energy and innovation, and all of you are doing the same today, so thank you for being here. Before I stepped into this building, almost exactly 6 years ago, I'd never stepped in government, so if I had been in this audience, it would have been my first time in the White House. But now I've been here for 6 years and have learned a lot, and one of the great joys is working with Megan and her team, and we do a lot together. I was with a friend of mine who's a leading economist the other day, and he was dressed how you all are dressed for the most part, which made me quite jealous because he used to be in the administration and he used to dress like this. And he said, beware of people in the private sector who have ties and suits on because it means they're trying to raise money. Relax, I'm not trying to raise money today from all of you, but I am trying to get you interested in a venture, and it's an early stage venture that I'm really hoping you all will help us accelerate, and I think some of you already are, so thank you for that. Let me start just by framing up where we are on jobs and the economy. Over the past 5 years, our businesses, and it's very important, this recovery has been led by the private sector, have created more than 12 million new jobs, and the unemployment rate is down to 5.5%. We've seen economic momentum pick up, and that means more jobs and more opportunities for all Americans. But we've got a lot to do still to build on that progress and strengthen wage growth in particular. So we've got unemployment down, but wage growth just starting to tick up. And this is a several decades old problem to make sure that the benefits of our economy are more broadly shared. And we've got to make sure that, as Megan talked about, all Americans get access to opportunity. Hardworking moms that are trying to re-enter the labor market and upgrade their skills while raising a family. Both boys and young men of color. Megan spoke about the My Brother's Keeper initiative. This group faces persistent opportunity gaps, or those coming back into civilian life having served our country so bravely in the military. And accomplishing that goal of providing opportunity for everybody is an all-hands effort. Everyone's got to be involved. Federal government, local government, private sector, nonprofits, tech innovators, all working together. And the good news is that this room represents many different sectors, many different parts of the country, different talents, and this coming together from all over the country is really a powerful way to move this forward. And what you all have in common, which is this TQ and problem solving and opportunity spotting, is that you're ready to tackle all of this and get something done. So I want to spend a few minutes making my pitch. It's a very specific initiative. It's focused on empowering every American with the education and training they need to get a job that pays well and promotes economic growth. It's called Tech Hire, and it's squarely on this target of technology and well-paying jobs for all Americans who want that opportunity. So I talked about 12 million jobs in the last 5 years. That's good progress. At the same time, we have 5 million jobs that are open today. That's more than any point since 2001. So 5 million job openings, and over 500,000 of those jobs, so more than 10% of those jobs, are in information technology. That's far and away the largest category. So 500,000 jobs in this country in IT are unfilled. And the good news about these jobs is that they pay more. On average, tech jobs pay 50% more than average private sector jobs. So this is a big opportunity. But I think many Americans, too many Americans, think of these jobs as not possible, just out of their reach. That they're only in places like Silicon Valley, or that they all require a 4, 5, 6-year degree in computer science. And all of you know that's just not the case. These well-paying IT jobs are throughout the country, from Albuquerque to St. Louis to Delaware. Everywhere there are IT opportunities, and they're not just in technology. They're across all industries, from healthcare to retail services to manufacturing. So there are IT jobs in every corner of America, from big cities to small towns, and in every sector of the economy. And there's every reason to believe that the 500,000 open jobs today, that the demand is going to continue to grow. This is not a one-time opportunity. This is an evergreen opportunity for years to come. So getting Americans to fill these well-paying jobs is not only the right thing to do, but it's really important for our country's position in the global economy. If we're not producing enough tech workers, our leadership in global innovation, and we're really in a league of our own in terms of innovation, and it's one of our great sources of competitive advantage in this global economy. But if we can't fill the jobs, that leadership position could be at stake. America is where entrepreneurs come to build the greatest tech companies. It's where the most leading edge ideas are born and launched, and we've got to keep it that way. The cool thing that's going on is innovation is coming to the training and education space itself. And that's great, because that can help us meet this growing demand for well-trained tech workforce. The innovation includes much more efficient and effective online training programs, coding boot camps, as well as high-quality community college and university-affiliated programs. There's innovation across the tech and education sector. And what's so promising are the outcomes. These innovative training models can get people ready to work and hired into well-paying jobs, often in just a few months, 3 to 6 months of intensive training, rather than the years of classroom training that we think of with a more traditional degree. So technology itself has transformed the way we live and the way we work. We all know that. But it's now transforming the way we equip Americans with new skills as well. So that's particularly exciting and promising for our future. So it's the combination of these factors that led us to the Tech Hire initiative. The president announced it in front of a big room, a couple thousand local and national leaders, mayors, governors, and local state legislatures. And he announced the initiative to get more Americans ready for well-paying IT jobs and the power of these new training models that I just talked about. And the initiative was incredibly well received. 3 components. First, mayors and other state and local leaders from 21 communities like Albuquerque, San Antonio, and Philadelphia. They together, these 21 communities, have 120,000 of those 500,000 unfilled jobs in their communities. They've all come together to take action, working with each other and national employers who are in their cities and local areas to expand access to tech jobs. Second, leading private sector companies are stepping up to the plate and making major commitments that will support and expand continued innovation and technology training with a focus, a special focus on reaching those populations we talked about earlier that have traditionally been underserved and underrepresented. Lastly, the President announced the federal government will do its part. In addition to convening and bringing folks together and lifting up best practices, the President announced a new $100 million federal grant competition. That competition will support the expansion and growth of these strategies that are proven to work, the strategies that are training workers faster and more efficiently and placing them in jobs at high rates. So what's next for Tech Hire? This is an early stage venture, and we need all of you to help out here. First, we're working with that first wave of 21 communities to make sure they're driving strong execution and capturing lessons learned and best practices to share with other communities. Second, the President is encouraging more communities to follow the lead of the first 21 with a goal, a stretch goal, of doubling by year end. Third, the President is challenging all employers across the country to adopt more inclusive hiring practices so that anyone who can demonstrate they can do the job can actually get the job. So that's where all of you come in. We need you to help lead this effort. When I think about where we are on Tech Hire and look at the people in this room, the mental image that comes to mind is a marathon. In fact, the first couple miles of a marathon, if you were able to helicopter up, I did try a marathon once. I didn't quite finish, but I did at least do the first couple miles. If you helicopter up, after a couple miles, there's this little pack that's ahead of everybody else. Those who are in really good shape, who can run really fast for 26 miles. And you know everyone eventually is going to catch up with them, but those leaders set the course, and they know where to head. And that's what all of you are. You are the vanguard. You're at the head of the pack, and you're getting there faster. So I need, the ask here is that as the vanguard of tech efforts in your community, we need all of you to continue to chart this course. We want Tech Hire to be part of that, so others will follow in your footsteps. You are the leaders, and we need you to lead on this initiative. So as you participate in the sessions here today, please keep Tech Hire in mind and how we can bring together a larger, more diverse group of Americans into the tech sector so they can take advantage of these big opportunities that exist. Thank you for your leadership, and thank you for bringing all your energy and creativity here today. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff, and to Megan. And already there are some themes that are emerging, right? The notion of charting a course, the history of our stories. And I want to take a moment to ground us before I introduce our next speaker, because it's so appropriate given what he's done internationally. This Whitehouse campus is roughly 18 acres. And the site on which the most famous piece of the property rests, or the mansion, right, the original White House, is a site chosen by George Washington in 1792. And it was built over several years, and he's the only United States president who has not lived in the residence. John Adams was the first president to move in. It is a home and a symbol of power that was built by the hands of slaves. And it's those stories who we don't often hear about, right? So who are all the people that helped build this fabulous place we call the White House? This building, the Eisenhower Executive Office Building, has also had many names, and you're sitting here today. It was called the Old Executive Office Building. It was once the Department of State, Navy, and War. It is now the Executive Office of the President, and most of the staff who work for the President are in this building and right around us. And when you walk around this building today, stop and take a look at the fossils in the floor. Think about how many thousands of years it took to produce those fossils. Look at the 4,000 individually cast iron bronze banisters. and whose hands shaped those banisters, and how their names and their stories are not often heard in our histories. And we think about Megan's story, or we think about Jeff's story, or the story of Tech Hire that's just been launched. We think about how we connect with each other, and how in that connection we find time to tell each other our stories. Whether it's my friend Matthew, who uses Meetup to meet up folks for Frisbee, or others who politically organize, or friends who do any number of things, including many of you in this audience who use Meetup every single day, Meetup is a tool that begins to tell a new story for not only people here, but around the world. And I have the privilege of talking for a second about Scott Heiferman. Scott is an internet pioneer and a leader in the notion of building community. He started Meetup after seeing the potential for community renewal around the tragedies of 9/11. And now over 20 million people are part of meetups. 3 million of them in tech meetups that are changing lives. They're sparking industries, and they're creating jobs by creating real community. Scott founded the New York Tech Meetup, the world's largest meetup with over 40,000 members. He and his extraordinary team are headquartered in New York City. And I would invite you to start thinking about, as he comes up here right now, what is his story from Homewood, Illinois to New York? What are the things that motivated him and inspired him to transform a tool that didn't even exist, right? And what is it throughout the day that you're going to do in partnership with Scott to make this a more just and a more incredible world? Please join me in welcoming one of those partners, Scott Heiferman.
Hey, good morning, everybody. I want to first and foremost thank three people who made this happen from the Meetup team. That's Kristen Hodgson, Katie Howley, and Andrea Murphy. Thank you guys for getting us here. We're here today because a lot of people in this room are forging the future in a non-obvious way. People here are opening doors for people that are opening doors for people. I stole that line from Seth Godin, and I love it. And so that's what I'm going to talk about for a few minutes. But first, I do want to say, speaking of doors, thank you to Megan and her team for opening the doors to us here at the Whitehouse today and seeing the potential in people like you do. You and your team, the president, are making a difference in hosting us today. So let's please raise your hand if you are a tech meetup organizer. Okay, that's great. That's almost that's most of the room. There are 30,000 tech meetup organizers just in America, and you are 50 of the best. But don't rest your hands don't rest your hands, because I'm going to ask for you to raise them again. So raise your hand if people got jobs. If you can say that people got jobs because of your meetup. Okay, that's almost all of them. Raise your hand if you can say that people found funding because of your meetup. That's almost all. Raise your hand if your meetup helped a startup take off because of the exposure you got them. All right, raise your hand if people got training at your meetup that changed their life in some way. That's interesting. That's all of them. Raise your hand if people started a business or found a co-founder because of your meetup. Raise your hand if people got inspired because of your meetup, if it opened up a world to them. I know that that's true. Those hands, all those hands that are raised, those are hands that are about you creating opportunity for people. We're here today, invited here today, to talk about opportunity, how tech meetups will create opportunity for more people. So I'm not just the co-founder of Meetup, the platform. I was a tech meetup organizer. I started the New York Tech Meetup in 2004. This was a couple years after we started the company. And Meetup had been used for all kinds of things, all kinds of things under the sun, used by all kinds of people, like this Illinois state senator named Barack Obama for my home state. He used Meetup to run for U.S. Senate. Now, I don't know whatever happened to this guy, but meetups were booming, but there weren't many tech meetups at the time. I was inspired to start the New York Tech Meetup because I was hearing stories like how Steve Jobs' co-founder, Steve Wozniak, has this great quote where he says, if there were no homebrew computer club, there'd be no Apple, unquote. And Homebrew was this community where you could demo your startup and find the others. It gave them opportunity. Maybe Silicon Valley wouldn't be the Silicon Valley of today if communities like that in that place hadn't formed. So I started the New York Tech Meetup, and I was really excited, and one person showed up. I asked her to be my co-founder. Because no one else was there, and she just had this incredible energy, and her name was Dawn Barber. And now the New York Tech Meetup, as was mentioned, is 40,000 members strong, with endless stories of how it creates opportunity for people. Dawn is here today. Thanks, Dawn. Dawn, you created opportunity for people. Now there are tech meetups everywhere, in this room, from Alabama to Alaska, and you're all poised to grow your local tech economies. So I'm really excited to meet so many of you, and I only have a couple minutes I get to speak, but I want to mention a few people that I'm excited to meet. I'm excited to meet Fitzgerald Steele of the Iowa Web Developers Meetup, and not just because Iowa is my alma mater. But in 2008, floods devastated eastern Iowa. It was the 5th largest disaster in the U.S. And Fitzgerald says, and I quote, "Out here in the Silicon Prairie, we have tons of creative and technical talent, but we needed to build culture and critical mass. So our meetup, actually our network of meetups," he says, "was grown, and our discussions covered technical topics, career advice, job opportunity sharing, and just plain networking and socializing. Together we are imagining and recreating the culture of this area." Fitzgerald, you are creating opportunity for people. I'm excited to meet Carolyn Finch from the Charleston Women in Tech Meetup. I heard about how she has grown this mentorship program within the meetup and that it's really working. And she's surprised at how willing and giving people are to be mentors. And she says, quote, "These mentors are an essential uniting factor to make these women feel welcome and encouraged to discover and pursue a career in the tech industry." Carolyn, you're creating opportunity for people. I'm excited to see Jamal and Felicia from Code Crew Meetup. They're a married couple. They lost their non-tech jobs in the recession and started the Code Crew Meetup to teach themselves coding by connecting with others to learn together. So now they're fully employed as developers who run the Code Crew Meetup to pay it forward and teach others the same skills. And they credit Meetup with changing lives in a transformational way. They're local celebrities in Harlem because the Code Crew Meetup is now 7,000 members. Guys, you are creating opportunity for people. I'm excited to meet Kakad of Minnesota Web Design Meetup. I love this line he said when he wrote something. He said that when he took over this meetup, people said, quote, this kind of thing is not a Minnesota thing. It's not a Minnesota thing. When you hear these stories, I mean, I hope you hear similar things in your city. And now tech meetups in Minnesota are booming. Katan, you're creating opportunity for people. I'm excited to meet Paola Maldonado. She's the organizer of the New York City Tech Latinas Meetup. She was an administrative assistant who learned iOS development at a meetup. Now she's an iOS developer at BuzzFeed, and she started the New York City Tech Latinas Meetup to pay it forward. Paola, you're creating opportunity for people. Anyway, I can go on. I need to stop, the sign says. These stories bring some words I heard to life that I heard President Obama say that I just love. He says, "We are the ones we're waiting for." The 50 tech meetups represented in this room have harnessed the power of community to create high-octane engines of economic growth and innovation. You know it. You know it if you're doing it. You know it. At Meetup HQ, we're most proud of people meeting each other who might not otherwise meet, of good things happening that might not otherwise happen. That's what you're doing. Opportunity is everything. Real opportunity for anyone to pursue their dream, to be proud, to realize their potential, and have a chance. regardless of what school they might have gone to, or if they had the right pedigree, or if they looked the part. It doesn't always work out that way. Community unleashes opportunity, and people have more power than ever to create community. That's why today at this podium, I'm declaring my candidacy, throwing my hat in the ring. No, not for president, but to be the biggest cheerleader for what you guys are doing. We want a world filled with real local community. And Megan, thanks again for opening the doors today. I hope everyone learns from each other today. That's what meetups are all about, because the person sitting next to you is smarter than you about something. So Raphael and I are gonna kick it off to the next part of today.
Yes. So actually, we're going to steal something from our New Jersey friend, because I promised I would do it, which is stand up and give an audience high five, which is what their tech meetup does. High five. High five your neighbor. High five your neighbor.
All right.
Okay, and now we're going to make it more interesting. Don't sit down, don't sit down, don't sit down. For those of you who are not spotlight speakers, we're going to make you switch places with someone very quickly. This is a test of your skills. Switch places and move where you're sitting. Is that where you sit by someone you don't know? Speakers, stay where you are. Speakers, stay where you are. Do that very quickly. And then as you're getting into your new seat, say hello to your neighbor, tell them your name, where you're from, and we're going to get started in a second here. Okay, let's try to get seated here. Okay, let's go ahead and take our seats. We couldn't possibly do a meetup without moving folks around quickly and keeping it interesting. So please take our seats again so we can get started. No, we're going to go to white.
So just before we, this is what we want. We want everyone to talk to each other. So just before we get started, can everybody here who's from kind of Pacific Northwest stand up? Any Pacific Northwest? Okay, where are you guys? Really fast. Seattle, and what, name your thing? What? Portland Tech Meetup? Anchorage, what, Tech Meetup?
Yes, Tech Meetup.
Yeah. Seattle Tech Meetup? No, Affiliated Tribes Northwest, yeah. Yes?
Canal Indian Nation.
Nice. Canal Indian Nation, yeah? Seattle.
Cannabis Tech Meetup and New Tech Seattle.
Cannabis Tech Meetup, okay. That's a change. Well, what was the first thing on read the people? I was not here yet. Hey, there they are. Just kidding.
No, it's not.
Do not do drugs. Do not do drugs. In fact, that's actually some, thanks you guys. That's something we need to work on around drug use. Okay, so to stop that. Okay, so let's say sort of West Coast, pure, not Pacific Northwest, but Southern California, instead of anybody Southern California, let's go into like Southwest US. And yeah. Southern Tribal California, Tribal Community, and also just incredible work on TribalNet of getting Native American community online. Love you guys. Yeah.
Digital Nest, California.
Amazing. You're going to talk. So Digital Nest, California, incredible breakthrough for rural America. Yeah.
Hillary Ross, the
Google American Indian Network. I know those guys from my old days. Awesome. Yeah, many of the, of course, the tech companies have all kinds of employee resource groups from all different works. So if you think about all the teammates who are already in the bigger companies that are there, yeah.
And tech scene, Albuquerque, New Mexico.
Albuquerque, cool. Albuquerque, city, from the city. So this is part of you guys like connecting in. One of the things that was really interesting for me, I was talking, we had this amazing group of mayors, maybe 50 mayors we were talking to, Jerry Abramson, who you're going to hear from, longtime mayor of Louisville and then lieutenant governor of Kentucky. We asked them if they knew about meetups, tech meetups, and only like 3 of them knew. So really got to get the word out to our civic teammates who are out there who are in leadership. Yeah.
Hispanic Heritage Foundation, Los Angeles.
Hispanic Los Angeles, great.
We're not Southern California, but
San Francisco, yep. San Francisco, yeah, meetup, great. LA, great. LA, amazing things going on there, yeah.
Las Vegas, LBW.
Awesome, Las Vegas. Bayback, San Francisco, yeah. Oakland, yeah. Great. There's also the Code for America folks. I know there's amazing stuff going on across the country, but I know Oakland is really killing it, which is really exciting. Okay, how about we do south? South and middle, so from kind of Texas across into the south. Yeah. Where are you guys from? Charlotte, yeah. Atlanta, also tech meetups there. Yeah, great. Yeah. Asheville. Boys and Girls Club of America. Yeah, okay. Charleston Women Tech, yeah. Orlando Tech, yeah. Nashville Tech and Music. Huntsville, Huntsville is where so much of NASA is. It's just so exciting, too. So I once got to do a space camp with all kinds of crazy people there. It was fun. Yeah. Great. Yay, Tech Hire. So Kentucky's been amazing in Tech Hire in Louisville and Eastern Kentucky. So it's really great to see you guys. And that community really came together. And as Jeff said on the stage, it's an ecosystem where the employers have to start hiring as they do from the 4-year degrees, but also new ways of like people coming out of boot camps and really reaching out. And then the boot camps have to show up and get the community colleges pulling them in. And really was led by the city community and everybody getting together. So awesome work there. Yeah. Operation Spark New Orleans, awesome. And one of the things a lot of people don't know is New Orleans, I think, has ended veterans' homelessness. Yes, and it's like this, yeah, you may not know that, but like that can happen, and we can be part of doing that. Yeah. You guys, and so other places, yeah.
Waving the flag for functional programming out of Nashville, Tennessee.
Nashville, okay, functional programming, yeah.
New Orleans.
New Orleans, awesome, yeah.
Nashville, Tennessee, Agile Nashville.
Agile Nashville, awesome.
Youth Empowerment Project out in New Orleans.
Also New Orleans Youth Empowerment, awesome.
City of Atlanta.
Atlanta, great. And also another city official, like, thank you for being here. Yeah, more of our cities integrated in, yeah. Louisville, yay. Right.
Chattanooga developers.
Chattanooga.
City of Chattanooga.
Yay, okay, there we go. Same thing going on, yeah.
Workforce Alliance, Columbia, Tennessee.
Columbia, Tennessee, great, thanks.
Rackspace Open Cloud Academy Boot Camp in San Antonio, Texas.
Great, and one of the things really interesting about these guys is that Rackspace found in San Antonio, they were paying $15,000 moving people from all over the country to San Antonio, and they're like, why are we doing this? And so they created a boot camp very focused on cloud and the technologies that Rackspace needed and put that together, and now people in San Antonio can train in and get those great jobs. So really amazing innovation, yeah.
Raleigh, Durham, Web Design.
Yay, web design, Raleigh, thank you.
Sixto
Yeah, in Sixto, I was lucky to meet through this amazing coalition group that was here, and he's this incredible youth leader who's using technology to help our foster kids, and the kids are kind of left out, get access to each other through some really interesting video stuff. So you got to check out his stuff. We'll make sure he can demo that. But think of -us.org, right? All right, so okay, we did south. How about north, east, and central? Okay, all right, so we'll do, okay. Real fast, okay. Really fast, where are you guys? New York. Code Crew, okay, this is the Code Crew that's got, awesome, thank you, yeah. Philly.
Startup Institute, Boston.
Boston, yeah.
I'm not really sure if I'm in this area. It's like Colorado.
Yeah, okay. Colorado. Woohoo! Central, northern-ish, yeah.
Omaha, Nebraska.
Omaha, Nebraska, awesome.
The high-fiving New Jersey Tech meetup.
Nice, New Jersey, yeah.
Tech Quarter, Iowa.
Great, Iowa, and that's Scott's talking about that, yeah.
The Center for Technology and Civic Life in Chicago.
Chicago, and this is, I was just in Civic Hall in New York City, just this civic nexus, like having more places to meet up, just really, really helpful, especially around the civic stuff, yeah. Great, Chicago, good. Great, we got lots of good Lexington and Louisville and Kentucky folks, thank you.
Gravo Media out of Baltimore, Maryland.
Baltimore, nice, media. Yay, and Detroit is just coming back. It's really great to see just the amazing stuff going on, not only the greening Detroit and manufacturing and new, brilliant, and there's a new cyber center there too, which was great, thanks.
In Baltimore and Washington.
Great, Baltimore, Maryland, our whole crew there, thank you, yeah.
Kearney, Nebraska, and Tech Hire.
Yeah, Nebraska, cool, tech hire.
City Hacks Hackers, New York City.
New York, great.
I'm Dave Mazin. I'm a Cambridge City councilor and own Danger, also an urban makerspace right now.
Cool, so Massachusetts, yeah. Great,
And even I am Tech meetup.
great.
New York City, LaGuardia Community College.
Cool. So that's a big, community colleges are really starting to embrace not only physical spaces to meet up, which is really good, so people can kind of get a sense of this and have the community of that, but also just bringing in these new training programs, which is awesome. Yeah. So US Ignite is a really interesting program that I hope everyone learns more about, but really, what are the highest speed applications that we could go for on the internet if we had crazy connectivity? And so they're working with several cities like Burlington, Vermont, and a couple other, Chattanooga, who have crazy connectivity. What would those applications look like? And so really encourage you to check him out in US Ignite.
Innovative STEM Solutions, Northern Baltimore, Central Pennsylvania.
Great, Central Pennsylvania, Baltimore, STEM, yeah.
Chicago, San Francisco.
Great. Chicago's to SF, New York, yeah. Kansas City, nice. Tech Latina, so like Scott was talking about you, you're right, yeah. Delaware, nice. Minneapolis, see, we got Minnesota does tech, yeah. Yeah, New York, thank you. The Meetup HQ, yeah. Great.
District of Columbia, local government.
Great.
St. Louis City, Mayor's Office, Workforce Development Office.
Awesome, and St. Louis is about to host the first Robotics Nationals. Does everybody in here have a first team or know of a first team in your region? Yeah, amazing. It's the Friday Night Lights of STEM. So one of my, yeah. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, find out. Yeah.
We do Kansas City.
Yeah.
New York City, Economic and Workforce Development, and Dunbar Fan Club.
Cool.
Minnesota representing the group.
Minnesota. Yeah.
That guy you mentioned.
Yeah. Great. Okay.
City of Baltimore, Mayor's Office of IT.
Great. Yeah, just awesome work, getting more people who haven't been founders in on the games. Thank you.
Columbus Web Group in Ohio.
Yeah, Ohio.
City of Philadelphia, Promise Initiative.
Philly, great.
Meetup headquarters, New York City.
Yeah,
Data Science.
New York. Great. Did you say data science?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we just hosted a police data meeting here. And Denise is here. I don't know if Clarence is here. Yeah, he was there. So amazing presidential innovation fellows had insight about reaching out to the police forces who are already using amazing data. And so we found Dallas and LA were already releasing their data on use of force and officer-involved shooting, all kinds of data sets that they were working with. And also Camden and some folks in North Carolina, leadership police chiefs, who are using data to manage their force better. The Camden, New Jersey results are incredible. The leadership team there has dropped their murder rate in half, their shooting rate in half, by opening up call centers so that people can use complaints. And really, I love that leader. He said the presence of, that policing was about the presence of, or the lack of crime with the presence of justice, not just the lack of crime. And so he's really thinking about the culture of how the police can be working really closely. And his goal was to get more and more people out of their houses into the parks and be part of the community and really using data in really extraordinary ways. It was so So insightful what they brought to us, and so we just had a hackathon there. So really great to see data science, and we had several data scientists like you guys show up and team up with them, which was great. Yeah. Yeah, so we've heard promise zones. You guys know smart communities and promise zones. We'll talk a little bit more about those communities that are coming together to work on some of our areas that are having some of the toughest times. Yeah.
Philadelphia Workforce Investment Award.
Great. Awesome. Yeah. Philly. New York. Yay. Yeah, the National League of Cities is something I learned about. It's an amazing group of our elected officials, all sizes, city officials, mayors, et cetera, who all come together a couple times a year. So get to know them. Yeah, and invite them into this because they don't know about you guys. Yeah.
It's all DC.
DC, awesome.
The Red Up initiative in Brooklyn.
Amazing initiative that we'll hear more about with the 18 to 24-year-old youth. Yeah. Great. Thank you. Jersey, yeah. Great. Thank you for being here, Mayor. Yeah. Great. Tech hire.
New America, DC, New York, and Detroit visual steering program.
Awesome. Yep. Yep. And there's also some really interesting light manufacturing, I think, between Queens and Brooklyn that's really interesting as we get back into manufacturing. A lot of manufacturing jobs are coming back to America, and that's happening. Yeah, thank you. Morgan State, and where's Marvin? Is he in here?
He's over there. He's busy.
He's busy. Okay, Marvin is a newly minted PhD who's in our team from your university, so thank you. Yeah. Great, Philly. Across New York in all states, yeah. West Virginia! Nice, thank you for being here. Yeah, anybody else? Yeah. Boston, great.
Ruth Farmer National Center for Women in IT for everywhere.
Great, yeah, NCWIT, yeah.
Leanne for
Lesbians of Tech, awesome. So I'm going to stop delaying our schedule because I wanted you all to know who you all were.
That's
so,
perfect. Thank you. You know, what Megan just helped us do, which was all part of the plan, was to make sure that you got to see different parts of the country represented, right? So from indigenous communities to big cities to small rural places to, the nooks and crannies of all the things you do, you bring with you all of your amazing ideas and your stories and your communities, right? Each of you have, as sort of Megan was jumping in, talking about the connections, your connections to the work that we do here at the White House, the connections you do on the ground. I want to talk a little about sort of the overview of the day to make sure we're grounded in why we all came together. And remind us, ultimately, we want to make sure we are all working together to build a much more healthy, inclusive tech community. And how can we do that together, right? A lot of you have some fantastic ideas about how you're already doing that. And no, this is not cannabis. No, but I want to ground the work, right, in what it is. I'm curious, how many of you know, except one person in the room, Jacob cannot answer this question. How many of you know what these pictures are? Just raise your hand if you know what they are. So 2, okay. I'm curious, what do you think the pictures are? The vegetable or the place? Whichever one you think that is. Okay, all right, so vegetables look like Salinas. So I am from this little place called Watsonville, California. Yes, Californians in the house. And this is where I grew up. And to your left are raspberry fields. So for those of you who eat raspberries, whether you buy them at Trader Joe's or Whole Foods or any supermarket, chances are they were grown and picked by people in Watsonville, California. Those are raspberries that are grown there. And you're right, that's lettuce. Most of the lettuce that's shipped around the world comes from a place called Watsonville, California. Next slide. 2 sides there. The left are strawberries. Watsonville is the strawberry capital of the world, right? And along the Salinas Valley area, they're shipped all over the place. And that is actually right next to my elementary school. That used to be apples when I was a kid. And that is now turned over between lettuce, strawberries, and other kinds of things. Next slide. And this slide is actually coming into town, a shot of farm workers who are picking the strawberries that we all eat. And the reason why I chose these slides to show you as we ground our day is that the kids who live in this community, kids who grow up to work for the President of the United States, just like me, right, come from this place. And most of the kids in this community have challenges every single day getting access to a computer and smartphones and being able to be wired to this new economy that we heard Jeff and Megan and Scott talk about, right? And so we want to make sure that everything we're doing in this building today is grounded in the idea that out there, people who may not know about us are connected in some way so that they too can be a part of this extraordinary moment in American history and in world history, right? And so we have chosen, in partnership with Meetup, a series of speakers to actually frame the day and to hear from them the things that they are doing, the challenges, the ideas, where they might need some help. You'll hear a variety of people who are going to come up and sort of share their story about how they connected their communities in their place, right? Megan talked about things happen in place. They happen at the local level, right? And so we are going to kick that off in a second. And I would like to invite up to the stage with me right now Andrew Coy from the Digital Harbor Foundation, Jamal and Felisa Ogaro from Code Crew in New York City, Jacob Martinez from Digital Nest, and Corinne Warntheis from Girls Develop It. Come on up over here behind me. And what we've asked them to do is in some ways do a lightning round of a TEDx talk, right? They're going to give us a glimpse into their world. For those of you here physically, be thinking about how it is that you can make a contribution to their work, how it connects to what you're doing, right? For those of you watching us virtually, think about tweet, use social media to connect with the people that you're going to hear from next, and how it is that you can actually help maybe solve one of their challenges, or be part of their community, or help make a contribution that will significantly impact the lives of the people with whom they're working. So with that said, we're going to kick it off first with Andrew. We're going to take a few minutes with each speaker. And then when this group is done, we're going to have another 4. And this one is specifically talking about education, skills sharing, and learning communities. What are they doing at the local level that is transformative? What are they doing that's actually changing the way we play the game in technology? What is it that these folks are doing that is totally different, or maybe exactly the same that you're doing in an indigenous community and maybe not in New York City, but how it is that you could get together and work together and solve really big problems in America? With that said, our first speaker is going to be Andrew Coy.
So just over 3 years ago, the city of Baltimore unfortunately announced it was shutting down almost half of the city's rec centers. The community, as you might understand, was really outraged and wanted to save these rec centers. At that time, I was a classroom teacher. I remember thinking deeply about why. Why were all these rec centers being shut down? And the conclusion I came to is that the rec center really fit into the industrial model economy. Factories needed to physically fit able-bodied people to work in them, and lots of them. They needed extended daycare options for second shifters. But with the shutting down of the rec centers, or the factories, the rec center lost its economic imperative. If, however, we could reimagine the rec center as a tech center, it can reconnect to all those economic imperatives that a city has. And so I ran around, and at the time I was a classroom teacher, but I had an after-school club, and we were doing tech things after school, and I ran around and told everybody that would listen about this idea, and people listened, and they said, okay, let's do it. And so in January 2013, we opened up in the former South Baltimore Rec Center, the Digital Harbor Foundation Tech Center, and began working with kids from all over Baltimore City, teaching them things like web and app development, microcontrollers, soldering, 3D printing, and other things. And we've grown from the original 20 kids in my after-school club to 500 kids that we served last year, and already this year alone, in January and February, we served more kids than all of last year, and we're on track to work with about 2,500 kids. So we've grown, and people from all over the country have seen what we've been doing and have been asking us, how do we do what you're doing? So we've started training other educators elsewhere who want to learn from our experiences and the R&D lab that is this little tech center. And in addition to that training, we've also found other educators that have said, I want this, but I don't know quite how to get there. And so we opened up a program in January this year that we're excited to continue to grow called the Perpetual Innovation Fund. And what that says is we actually believe things like 3D printing can pay for themselves. So if an educator comes to us and says, I want this, but I just don't know how to get there, we say to them, come with a business plan of how you're going to use the 3D printer as your entrepreneurship club after school, and we'll give you the training and the printer for free if you promise to pay it forward, which means contributing back into the fund so another teacher can get the same thing. And really, one of the questions that I come with to the table, and that I think this is the perfect place for this, is how do we formally support informal learning? So many of us, and I think Meetup is the perfect example of this, are here because of informal learning experiences. So how do we continue to support and grow that? Because without places to go, like your garage and Tinker, and I'll tell you that kids in Baltimore City don't have garages, so where do they go? Without places to go and collaborate and meet and these collisions happen of ideas, how are we going to build the next generation? And I'm super excited for the conversations later today to talk with all of you about that. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jamal O'Garrow, and this is my lovely wife, Felicia. And we run an organization in New York called Code Crew. And what Code Crew is a community of people who are passionate about both learning and teaching others how to code.
Jamal and I, a couple of years ago, were actually both laid off. And after being laid off, we decided that we were going to teach ourselves how to code. The reason we decided is because we tried to find different jobs and were unable to actually gain employment. But after doing some research, we learned that there were tons of jobs out there if you were able to learn the skills of becoming an engineer or a developer. So we decided to teach ourselves, and we thought it would be cool if we found other people to actually learn with. So initially, we started Code Crew as a study group, where we would actually meet in different locations and go through a lot of curriculum that was already posted online, as well as resources that were available. Initially, we thought it would be us and 5 other people in a coffee shop, and Code Crew ended up growing to over 7,000 members within 2 years.
And within that time, we found ourselves running study groups, which we could only fit about 15 people in. And I guess with that limitation, many members were reaching out to us to actually teach additional sessions. So we started teaching classes, workshops, to try to get more people involved in the coding community. Personally, Felicia and myself, we've taught over 1,000 people in New York City alone. Of those people, we've helped dozens gain jobs. We helped them build their portfolios, prepare for interviews, and actually make connections to startup founders and help them get employment. In addition to that, we are really focused on trying to reach more underserved communities. Because both of us, we both come from underrepresented backgrounds. So we have a program called ICO New York, where we go into my hometown of the Boogie Down Bronx, and we teach people there how to code. See Majora in the audience. Yes. So we also have a program that Felicia's also running called Hello Girl. She'll tell you a little bit more about that.
Where we have workshops for women, and we offer everything from 2-day workshops to long-form workshops for these women to come together, meet other women to learn with, as well as learn a new skill.
And we're very happy to announce that we have another program called Code Stars, which is going to be a 12-week, part-time, yet intensive program to help people learn software engineering skills. We're going to teach that ourselves pretty much twice a week and all weekend. Some challenges that we have are, trying to get more minorities involved, and also we have a lack of space. So, like, you look at our meetup, there's like over 200 people on a wait list for like a coding session.
Pretty much every event that we have, I have people contacting me all day about, can I get a space? Can I get a space? But we only have, I would say, about 15 to 20 seats available. So it's hard to provide them with a seat.
And if you're in New York, check us out next week for the Week of Code. Every day from Monday through Sunday, we have a coding workshop or tech talk planned. Please join us. Come out. We are very passionate about this. Code Crew has changed our lives. Meetup has changed our lives. Thank you, Scott. Thank you, Greater Tech.
And we're looking to expand, too, so look out for us in other cities.
Yes, if you want Code Crew in your city, definitely contact us. We're looking to definitely expand. Oh, sorry. Yes, this. Whoops. Don't knock the flag.
Hello, I'm Jacob Martinez. I'm the founder and executive director of the Digital Nest. The Digital Nest is a workforce development center located in the hometown of Rafael in Watsonville, California. Watsonville is about 45 minutes outside of Silicon Valley, but it might as well be across the country. You saw the pictures. That is Watsonville, a very low-income Latino agricultural community. When youth walk into our workforce development center, I tell the kids, I'm trying to get you paid, bottom line. And I believe if we could get these money in the hands of these low-income kids, they will see a lot of negative outcomes that are associated with poverty, like high rates of diabetes, violence. We'll see these things decline in communities like Watsonville. Our goal is to have one of these in every rural community across the country. And what we're doing at these centers is we're providing access to top-of-the-line technology, So we hand a kid a laptop as they walk through the door. We provide training and workshops on everything from how to write a resume to ag technology and doing robotics to programming. And we do it all in the space that was designed like a tech company. So a really hip, cool space where kids want to be. Just like the Googles out there, you get free food and free snacks. So really trying to really engage them with the space. The kids that walk through our door are no different than any kids from any affluent community. They have the same dreams, same hopes, same aspirations for their goal, for their life, but they hit a lot of barriers. There's access issues to both technology and to professionals with the skills to teach these kids tech. So that's what we're doing with the Nest. One example is this young man, 18 years old, who's graduating high school this year, who's going to be going to community college. He came to me and told me that he's going to have to go work in the fields this summer to bring in money for his family. We quickly got him trained doing video production work for us. We tapped him into things like lynda.com and Adobe, all Adobe software. He produced a video for his local competition on global warming. He won the competition, and now he's going to be he's a cash prize associated with it that's equivalent to 1 week's worth of wage for his family. So that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to transform communities. We're trying to get these kids paid, and we're trying to do it from within. And so I just invite you all to kind of join us on this journey. Thank you.
This is really exciting. A lot of Monterey Bay representation. I'm from Salinas. I'm Corinne Warnsice. I'm the executive director of Girl Develop It. And Girl Develop It is a nonprofit that was founded in New York in 2010. Our founders looked around and didn't see many women in tech back then, and it wasn't kind of the big issue that it is today or that gets talked about as much today. And so they started a Meetup, and it sold out in 24 hours. I think there were 30 students at that first class. And basically what we do is we teach in-person classes for women 18 and up to learn to code, web and software development. And so over the past couple years, since the end of 2013, we've tripled in size. So we're now in 50 US cities. We have 41,000 members. It's really exciting. So we bring women together to learn to code, intro to HTML, JavaScript, et cetera. And from there, they level up their skills, whether that's to start a new career in tech or whether that's just to move up in their current position or to kind of bolster what they're doing. And some have gone on to start new businesses. Many have gone on to start other chapters of Girl Develop It. One of the really exciting things about our community is that it's not just classes. It's study groups and social hours and women coming together in their spare time to teach each other, to give back. We have this really beautiful kind of cycle in our community where women are students. I started as a student myself, and then they become TAs because they want to give back what they learned. And then they go on to teach, they go on to lead, they become developers and speakers in their communities and across the country. So it's really exciting to be here. I think that there are a lot of people I want to touch base with and get something started in Charleston and see all these different places. Chattanooga, you're on my radar. We want to get Girl Develop It in communities where there are emerging tech communities and make sure that women are a part of that. I think we're supposed to present a challenge, and one of those is that we've got big cities down. We've got New York, and our New York chapter leader is sitting in the back there, Erin Kidwell, hey. And we've got Philadelphia, Chicago, et cetera, but we really would love to figure out what the best way to engage smaller communities is. So I'm really excited to talk to you all about that. Thank you.
So I'd like to invite up to continue this conversation Mandy Godon and Michael Smith and Aliyah Rahman. Come on up.
As those guys are coming up, I wanted to share that one of the things Scott and I were just noting is there's space is a common theme that people either have figured out how to get or need. And so one of the things we've been trying to audit is George Washington Carver, together with Secretary of Agriculture Wallace, created the Ag Extension Program, and there's 2,100 buildings that we know of in the Ag Extension. So definitely in the rural areas, which are physical government federal buildings, that just like, the idea of taking that rec center to Tech Center, we felt like that might be a place. And so if anyone in this room happens to have heard of someone doing something with that, we'd love to know about that, and we'll continue to work from the other side. Also, we noticed in Bismarck, North Dakota, several of the companies, notably Bobcat, has an amazing facility there and was hosting things in their spaces. So whether it's corporate or whatever, as a theme, if people can tell us a little more about physical places, that's really helpful.
And actually, Megan just read my mind, because I was going to say, particularly using the hashtag WH Meetup, you can already be engaging in connecting with these communities. So we already heard our friends from New York City say they're clamoring for space. If you got space in New York City, get online, connect with our folks here. If you're thinking about connecting, with rural groups or young women within rural communities, we can do that now. So please use social media as we're going through this. Start responding to the calls for help. Start responding sort of the ways in which we can connect each other in profound ways. So to kick off this next round, again on the topic of education, skill sharing, and learning communities, we're going to go to Diane Hessen from the Startup Institute. Then we'll be followed by Mandy Godone from Chassés Boulder. We will be followed by Michael Smith from the Domestic Policy Council here at the White House and the My Brother's Keeper initiative. And then Aliyah Rahman from formerly of Code for Progress.
Hi, everybody. It's so inspirational. And hi, Lindsay and Amanda, who are my daughters. They're probably freaking out right now. So we have two big problems. One is a serious talent gap in tech. And the other is that if you look at the Gallup numbers, 70% of people in the United States are either underemployed or they're completely disengaged in their jobs. So Startup Institute was created to kind of bridge these issues, to fill these tech jobs, but also to help people find work that they love. We are a new kind of boot camp and different from a typical coding boot camp in 4 ways. Number one, guess what? Tech companies need not just coding skill, but lots of other tech skills. So we have 4 tracks. We have web development, web design, technical marketing, and sales, which is a huge, huge need for companies. 90% of our students get jobs mostly in startups and scale-ups, so we've got a broader range of options. Number 2, we started doing a lot of research with our corporate partners saying, what is it that underlies success once we place people? What are the characteristics of people who are phenomenal within organizations? And guess what? Warren Buffett was right. If your IQ is 150, sell 30 points, because you only need to be smart enough. So what we started finding is, it's not, the technical skills and the smarts are kind of the ticket to entry, but what really differentiates the highly successful employees are also their culture skills. People who raise their hands, people who know how to deal in an environment with ambiguity and stress, people who are scrappy. And so in addition to teaching technical skills, we give people the whole array of culture skills. And if you want to see the research, feel free to email me, Diane, at Startup Institute. Thirdly, we have diversity kind of wired into what we do, gender diversity, racial diversity, and age diversity. Our youngest student right now is 19. Our oldest is 55. We use scholarships really strategically. We raise money for inner city kids on Indiegogo, and it's been really, really successful. Lastly, we're committed to lifelong learning. So when people graduate our program, they immediately go and find me. If you can help, I look forward to speaking with all of you.
Hi, my name is Mandy Godone, and I remember my first tech meetup, and it was Boulder New Tech in the early days. And I was one of 3 women in a room of roughly 60. And that was kind of my norm for a while there. It's no surprise that I gravitated to a group like She Says. She Says Boulder is a chapter of an international organization that runs in 32 cities around the globe. We focus on women in digital. Now, She Says Global focuses on women in creative digital. Boulder's a little different. We're a really entrepreneurial community, so we focus on women who are entrepreneurs in marketing, in digital in general, and we have programmers as well, but we don't focus on programming because there are great organizations already doing that. Some of them have already been up on the stage. What I can say is that we bring together a group of women, And we create an environment that is incredibly inclusive. We bring women who are leading in their field, and they share their stories, their tips, insights, and help each other to level up. Our goal is to change the dynamic. Our goal is to get more women in leadership roles throughout digital. And I have to say, reason why I lead this group with my co-chair, Keisha, is it's helped me. I was an executive assistant. I went to tech meetups. I love tech. Didn't really do it. And after going to a few of these events, seeing women, meeting with these women, building a network with these women, I got into a coding program, a full scholarship coding program. I then started my own business in front-end web dev and design, and I'm a co-founder of a startup as well. So my life completely changed, and this is completely available to any woman, but we have to create these environments that help us to see all these opportunities and to leverage those opportunities. And that's our biggest problem. We have this amazing network. There are 15,000 women in She Says around the world. There are 850 in a small community of Boulder, Colorado. I would love to talk to people about ways that we can leverage that network and get into the community around us, to bring in mentorship on a much higher level, to get women, like if I have a UX designer, she can connect with others who are looking for a UX designer, or create a subcommittee within our group where they can get together and have an amazing get-together of their own, where they're drilling down on UX together. So I think there's a great opportunity there. Thank you so much.
Good morning, everybody. It's great to be here, talk a little bit about My Brother's Keeper. It's great to be with all the Tech Meetup organizers. I used to be one of you. I worked for the Case Foundation, heading up social innovation, and I used to wear jeans and blazers, so don't let the costume fool you. I'm a part of the team. So I'm here today to talk to you a little bit about boys and young men of color in this country. Boys and young men of color in this country are at a crisis point in America. Whether it's entering kindergarten ready to learn, whether it's reading at grade level by third grade, unemployment rates, you look at interaction with the criminal justice system, boys and young men of color are falling terribly behind their peers. Issues that you look at like school suspension rates, where boys and young men of color are being pulled out of schools as early as pre-K, sometime involving law enforcement officials. And a staggering statistic when you look at the fact that black boys are 6% of the nation's population and more than 50% of the nation's murder victims, you realize that we have to do something about this. The other side of that picture is we know that there are more young people that are in college, boys and young men of color, than are in jail. We know that they are active. We know that they have unique talents and assets that we need to put to work in America. And so that's what My Brother's Keeper is all about, really trying to make sure that we address these persistent opportunity gaps that boys and young men of color face and make sure that all young people can achieve their potential. If you heard the president talk about it, he talks about this fact that there's a moral obligation, that America, if you work hard and play by the rules, it has to be a country where we help you succeed, because we realize that when your kids succeed, my kids succeed. Also, that we have an economic imperative. If we are going to remain a globally competitive nation, we cannot write a whole generation off. We need them to be positive producers and consumers, active parts of our economy. So what are we doing about it here at the White House? One, we've got a place-based initiative where almost every one of your communities are now My Brother's Keeper communities. Nearly 200 mayors, tribal leaders, county executives are developing cradle-to-college and career strategies to close these opportunity gaps. We even have the Council for Great City Schools that has more than 60 urban school districts that are doing the same thing. From a policy perspective, almost every single cabinet member that's doing anything with domestic policy are working on strategies to expand effective programs and to remove barriers out of the way. And even from a private sector perspective, we've seen almost more than $300 million in commitments from businesses and philanthropy trying to make sure that we close these opportunity gaps. And folks like you, we've had Kino Labs that are running MBK Hacks. Georgetown has done data jams. We've had coding days at colleges and universities. And we're seeing all sorts of new organizations that are popping up. Even the Department of Energy is opening the national labs to get young people in inspired on tech careers and careers in STEM. So what can you do? Do what you do best. Bring smart, passionate people together using their talents to change the game for young people. You can host coding days. You can help these communities that are developing local action plans. You can hack some of these solutions that they're trying to solve to what do you do with public safety? How do you create data dashboards? And really be a part of the solution. So it's an all hands on deck moment. We need you guys to really get in the way and help us make a difference for all of our young people. Thank you.
Hi, y'all. Hey, y'all on live stream. Hey, my name is Alia Rahman, and I just finished up some time as the program director at Code for Progress. So at this point, it is no secret that the diversity statistics for the tech industry are absolutely abysmal around race and gender, pretty embarrassing, but for me, most importantly, a solvable problem. And so for me, that's frustrating, right? So we at this organization decided that we actually need to go beyond improving diversity and desegregate tech. Those two things sound different, right? They feel different. We are incredibly innovative people. So the other reason we start with community organizers is that if y'all have been to any of the Black Lives Matter stuff, you know that we come out the gate with the sentence, I believe that we will win. Because in this problem, I believe that we will. And these folks come from communities that are highly innovative. The reason I know that is because they are still here, despite all odds. Community organizers are inherently systems hackers. I think so. They just don't necessarily have the syntax yet to work that magic on a computer. So we believe that if you can train organizers, and these folks came to DC for 5 months, none of them had any coding experience when they got here. When they left, all of them, 100% of them, got job offers out the gate to work as developers. And then the retention game began. So we started having Thursday night community hack nights that were to support them originally, but then all these other folks showed up, because we operated with some simple premises. One, when you come to this meetup, someone is going to say hello to you at the door. And someone is going to introduce you to other folks, and it's going to look mostly like you. So we are all people of color in this fellowship. We have fantastic white allies who work with us, and we're mostly women. So, excuse me. So we're training these folks to go back into the movement as coders, and to go back to communities where they already have really strong relationships with folks who are looking for that first answer to a question, what is tech and where do I start? We also started doing this saying, we're not going to do any program unless we are serious with ourselves about numbers on the back end of that. At least 80% of our folks getting jobs, 100% of the folks coming to meetups leaving with a skill that they can actually quantify that moves them towards job stuff. So I want us to remember that not all of us were techies before this day, before a month. None of us were born techies, right? And so some of the best techies that are out there may never actually get there unless we personally ask them, say to them, you are important, you are from communities in which the DNA of justice and innovation resides, and we need you. This is our country, our communities, and our code. Thank you, y'all.
The best part of working at the White House, and I can speak for all of my colleagues who work here, is just meeting all of you, right? Like, it's all this extraordinary talent and energy from all over the country. It's like the best part of the job. For those of you just joining us online, welcome to the White House Tech Meetup. All of you here joining us in person and across the country or the world, please feel free to join us via social media at hashtag WHMeetup. So we're going to continue. As you can see, we have extraordinary stories to share. We're going to invite the next group that's going to specifically focus on innovation and entrepreneurship. I'd like to call up Ryan Burke from the National Economic Council, Comerford from New Tech PDX, Brett Green from Seattle New Tech, and Doug Rand from the Office of Science and Technology Policy to join me up here. And we'll kick it off with Ryan.
Good morning. So Jeff spent some time talking to you about the Tech Hire Initiative, where we have 21 communities across the country, many who are represented in this room, working to bring a larger and more diverse group of people through accelerated technology training and into tech jobs. And one of the things I've learned is one of the things the White House is the best at is basically being a matchmaker. And so taking things that are already happening in some communities and spreading them to others, or happening in one community but not being connected to the full range of people and making sure that those ideas are being shared. So that's what I want to talk to you about, is how you can help tech hire communities make real progress towards that goal. Right now they have city leadership, employers, a lot of kind of traditional and accelerated training providers working on that goal. And there are 3 things that they've said will make a big difference in terms of getting more kind of women, minorities, low-income people into this training and jobs. One is mentorship. We've heard from a lot of communities that not only having the skills, but having someone who you look up to say, I believe in you, you can do this, you should apply to this training and job is going to make the biggest difference. So if you have an organization that's working on mentorship, we'd love to plug you into the tech hire communities as a part of that. The second is knowing, what does it mean to be in a technology job and being empowered that, hey, that's something that I can do. We often talk about that in manufacturing, people say, oh, I wouldn't want to work in a factory that's dirty, and that's kind of a misperception. With tech, what we often hear is, oh, well, that job is out of reach. That's not something that I can do. It's too hard. So how do we bring people into tech companies, kind of hear about what it means to be a software developer, a systems administrator, so they feel like this could be a job for me, thinking about what each of you in this room can do to help with that problem. And I think the third piece is around building of communities. So something we heard from organizations is that, people, even if you're going through a boot camp, having your friend text you every morning and say, hey, are you going to make it to class? Having someone when you start a job and you have a problem that you're embarrassed to ask your coworkers, being able to email a community that you really trust, that can be the small things that really make the difference in terms of persisting in training and work. So how can you help to kind of create communities of people who look like me and who are going through these training and jobs in our tech hire communities? So the specific things that I'd love you to do is go to the website, www.whitehouse.gov/tech-hire. You can see what the 21 communities are and think about what can my organization do to support them. If you email techhire@eop.who.gov, let us know and we'll plug you into one of those communities. And if you see one that should be on the list but isn't, let us know that too, because we definitely want to spread this out to more places. Thanks a lot.
My name's Tuptan. I'm organized the Portland Tech Meetup, now known as the New Tech PDX Meetup. We started in the year 2000 after I moved to Portland from Denver. I started the meetup to bring together local entrepreneurs, and we struggled. We struggled for some time, even though we would meet at a local pub and get together and enjoy each other's company. There really wasn't a whole lot of tech scene when we started there in 2009. Just about a year and a half ago, I shared my struggle with my friend Brett, who's going to be speaking next, and he suggested that we use the format that they use, that they got from Boulder, and everything changed after that. We now have at least 100 people, sometimes up to 200 people at every one of our meetups. We meet once a month. Portlanders love to geek out on their very, very tiny little tech world, and I'm sure that you all have that same issue. We do what we can to break through those silos, those programming silos, those engineering silos, those people who just are the MBAs at the back of the room talking about Excel spreadsheets, whatever MBAs talk about. But right, I mean, and bringing them all together, right? So making sure that the marketing folks can talk to the engineers, can talk to the software people, can talk to the hardware people, so that what's being developed on one side of Portland gets understood on the other side of Portland. And it's really been a lot of fun watching that community grow and learn. We bring people who are presenting from Intel, from IBM, but also we bring the guy who's developing the mind control thing in his basement. I mean, we had this guy who had this software that read his mind and allowed him to control the mouse on his computer. The coolest stuff in the world is happening everywhere, and we really enjoy showcasing what happens in Portland at our meetups. We have been doing our best to reach out to communities that aren't represented in our meetups. Most of the people who participate in our meetups are men. Most of those people are white. And I'm doing everything I can. It's a struggle. And I'm here asking you and you out in TV land to help, right? So help us help everyone participate in tech and in this growth. I look forward to getting to know all of you here during the rest of the day. And if you have ideas about how we can reach out better, please come say hi. I look forward to getting to know you. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Brett Green from New Tech Seattle, and my partner Red is out in the audience. So the problem we're talking about today is jobs and opportunity. And in Seattle, we start with a give first attitude, and that's a term that was coined by Brad Feld that I learned when I was in Boulder before coming to Seattle, and it's very true in Boulder and probably a lot of other communities too. A lot of our success and a lot of the people we've had get jobs, find funding, find partners, just find good people to work with, that's really just come out of people caring about people and bringing everyone together to really focus on what we can do to give first to help somebody else with what they're working on. And somehow there's magic that comes together in doing that. I'm very happy that our group, actually, we usually have about 40% or more females that come to our events. We work hard with diversity. We work with the City of Seattle and some of the initiatives they're doing to bring in more people. To jump ahead with problems for us, they're actually good problems. We're looking at we're always looking at how we can be better and have a bigger impact and train more people to be leaders to go help other people. So to that end right now, what we're looking at is our next phase is what happens at the events is awesome, and we're looking at how do we take that online so that when people come together and share resources and build things together at the event, how can they 24/7 online come together, find out what other resources can help them, and see what other people are looking for and share what they have to offer so that those people can come and find each other in addition to doing that at the physical event. And we're also working on a fund for women, underserved minorities, and military to help them around coding. And a question I have out here is what I found out in starting this and going out and asking how we could help and what was out there. The feedback I got, which was amazing, is the people we wanted to partner with all already have their own funds. So it'd be great to have a fund to help what they're doing, but that makes me wonder what is something else that could be impactful that we haven't thought of yet that somebody isn't taking care of. So that's, the one thing I wanted to share, because I shared this last night at the event, and it helped somebody with his meetup, was we had dozens of people getting jobs, and we were trying to figure out, well, how can we help more people get jobs? And we did the simplest thing. We just started color coding name tags, and we put a thing where you fill out your name tag, and it's red if you're hiring, blue if you're looking for a job, white if you're there to have a good time and meet cool people. And then we just found out there were founders saying, I'm not finding other founders. So we just added another color for founders or C-level executives so that those people could find each other. And because of shifting that name tag thing a year ago, we've helped hundreds of people find jobs because they could look around the room and just find a color. And that also made it warm, and that's another the give first thing makes it different when people walk in the door. People tell us all the time, this isn't like any other event I go to. And I would say that's probably true in Seattle, but if they went to other tech meetups in other cities, I think they would experience this because I think it's a common theme that we really care about helping each other and finding ways to make that happen. And so when somebody comes into our event, they're actually welcomed because the people who've been there before are used to this community, and you're considered to be part of a community more than just coming to an event that you come to. And that community aspect is something that I learned from New Tech Boulder, that came from New Tech in New York originally, and has really been the platform that's brought together everything we've had. So if there's anything that I've said that might be able to help you, or you can think of any things in your groups that could help us build our meetups, we're all about collaboration and helping with Seattle, outside of Seattle, and we're about the community even more than the tech. Tech is the seed, but community is what it's really all about. So to kind of put a today twist on a quote that's really inspired me, ask not what your tech community can do for you, ask what you can do for your tech community. Give first. Thank you.
All right, good morning, everyone. It is a thrill to be here at Whitehouse Tech Meetup. My name is Doug Rand. I work here at the Office of Science and Technology Policy and have the great privilege to work on a whole range of ways that the president and the administration are trying to promote high-growth entrepreneurship across the country and across industries. And one of the ways we're doing that this year that we're really excited about is the same way that we've turned the White House into a science fair, turned the White House into a maker fair, today turning the White House into a tech meetup. We're going to turn the White House into a demo day. You've seen the president. He's gone all around the country. This is him in Austin. He's done it in D.C. He's done it in L.A. He's done it in a bunch of cities. He loves hearing entrepreneurs demo their awesome products and services. So now we're going to bring a ton of entrepreneurs here to the White House later this summer. And this is going to be the first ever White House Demo Day focused on inclusive entrepreneurship, because there's a good news, bad news story that I'm sure you're all familiar with. The good news is the United States has been and is now, and for the foreseeable future will continue to be the envy of the world when it comes to innovation and entrepreneurship. People all over the world want to start companies here and scale companies here because this is the best place on the planet to start and scale a company. That's the good news. The bad news is we are not firing on all cylinders. We are not tapping our full entrepreneurial potential. We could be so much more innovative. We could be growing so much faster. We could be creating so many more world-changing companies if we actually tapped all of the entrepreneurial talent in all corners of the country from all walks of life. And I'm sure you all know the stats that are not awesome. The percentage of women-led companies that get venture backing is less than 3%. And the percent that are entrepreneurs of color is far lower. And those numbers do not appear to be on an upward trajectory unless we do something, right? We, the administration, we, the larger community of tech meetups and ecosystem players throughout the startup ecosystem in this country. So we're not just going to be showcasing amazing entrepreneurs that exemplify the full range of entrepreneurial talent in this country. And I do encourage all of you, if you haven't already, just Google White House Demo Day. You got another week to nominate the most amazing entrepreneurs that you know to potentially come here and demo for senior administration officials. But this is an opportunity for the community to come together and make big, bold, new, high-impact commitments to materially and rapidly increase inclusive entrepreneurship in this country. So the question I have for every meetup in the room today is do you know what your baseline is in terms of participation? Do you know how many women and people of color are coming to your events? Some of you probably do, maybe some of you don't. So can you start measuring your baseline? Do you have a goal for improving on that baseline? Is it an ambitious but achievable goal in a measurable period of time? And can you share what's working to help you achieve that goal? I think that if every meetup in America attacked all three of those things en masse, that would dramatically improve the pipeline for inclusive entrepreneurship in this country. So look forward to working with all of you, and thanks again for coming to the White House, and have a great day.
All right, so from the boogie down Bronx to Watsonville, California, and everywhere in between, you can see that there's lots of fantastic things going around. I'd like to continue the conversation on innovation and entrepreneurship and invite Arette Davis from Orlando Tech, Zach Leatherman from Nebraska JS, Jeff Mizell, a Presidential Innovation Fellow with the U.S. Census, and Aaron Price from NJ Tech.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Arette Davis. I'm the Executive Director for the Orlando Tech Association. Orlando Tech is a nonprofit that's focused on helping to grow Orlando's startup and tech ecosystem. We help to connect, promote, and foster the growth of that ecosystem. We like to think of ourselves as a conduit for that activity here in Orlando. And our history really begins about 3 years ago. When we first started the Tech Meetup, we were inspired very much by the New York Tech Meetup. We had about 10 folks attend our first event. But over the years, we've seen it grow, and our attendance double and triple into size. So now we're at a stage now where we've gone from 10 people attending our events to 200 to 250 people attending every single month. So we are a platform for technologists, platform for entrepreneurs to showcase the coolest and latest things that they're working on inside the Orlando community. So we've grown to over 2,500 members, which makes us one of the largest tech-focused meetup groups now in the Southeast. So it's been incredibly powerful. We've had over 150 companies demo that have raised over $100 million in funding. But about a year ago, we started asking ourselves, what more could we do for the community? Because you do a meetup, you meet once, you go home, and then that's it. So we've kind of banded together, and with the help of the city of Orlando, have formed the Orlando Tech Association to give the community a voice, to give the tech companies there a voice of what's happening within the city and within the region, but also raise the awareness of Orlando and Central Florida. We're world leaders for modern civilization. We're world leaders for sports and entertainment technology, but not many people know, and we don't broadcast that message. So that's part of our goal and our aim is to help broadcast what's happening in Florida, what's happening in Central Florida, and to everyone that's here. So the city of Orlando has been incredibly, the city, the county have been incredibly supportive of what's happening. They fully embraced the startup and the tech and the meetup community. So it's been really interesting to have that happen for us. So what I would love to do, we've targeted 3 main focus areas for our community. We have the startups, the entrepreneurs, we have the established tech companies that are there, but then we also have the tech-enabled businesses. And so really our focus and our goal is to serve as a bridge for those 3 groups. How do we connect and unite those 3 companies, those three focus areas? Because really great things can happen when you bring in the established tech companies, you have them partner and use and fund early stage startups, you then tie that into the business community, you tie that in with local government. That really fosters innovation within our community. We've seen just the cusp of it happen so far. So what I'd love to do is I'd love to invite everyone here to Orlando to see the real Orlando, because you don't know the half of it. So once again, thank you, everyone.
How's it going? All right. So I run Nebraska.js, and Nebraska.js is really dedicated to promoting and connecting Nebraska developers. So one of the things that we kind of struggle with in Nebraska is we have the phenomenon known as brain drain. So our top local talent will move to bigger tech cities or big tech hubs in search of a tech community that they feel like they belong into. So one of the things that we've tried to do, excuse me, is really focus on the cool things that Nebraskans are doing as programmers. So just last week, we had a demo at one of our meetups where a developer wrote a transpiler to convert Arnold C to JavaScript to run in the web browser with working source maps. And if none of you know what that is, that's fine. I didn't either before I watched the video. It's really cool. You should have attended the meetup. We've also had live quadricopter demos, really cool. Maybe not really kind of what you guys have here in the Capitol with the helicopter flying in, but still really kind of cool thing. We also had a Minority Report style human-computer interaction demo, and also a voice-controlled mood lighting demo, which is kind of neat. So our local companies really, they know what we have in Nebraska, and our more progressive out-of-state companies that have started to embrace remote work have really learned what we have in Nebraska. Too often in Nebraska, we kind of have this culture of not tuning our own horn, not sort of doing any self-promotion or self-marketing. And even online, we judge people too often we judge developers by their social media popularity, their GitHub profiles, or more nefariously, their geographic location. So Nebraska.js really attempts to give developers marginalized by that myth a voice. All of our talks are recorded and published online. We have had 40 different speakers at 46 events, so we really encourage people to speak and sort of consider themselves a leader in the tech community. We're just cheerleaders, basically. We toot other people's horns to make them feel like they belong. So what's next for us? We're going to run a conference, Nebraska.js conference in August. We're going to bring some people in, bigger names from out of state, and also combine those with local talent to sort of work together towards that goal. So check us out, nebraskajs.com. Thank you.
Hi, good morning. My name is Jeff Meisel. I'm a Presidential Innovation Fellow at the U.S. Census Bureau, and I'm here to chat about an exciting project that all of you can take back and use in your communities, and it's called the City SDK, or Software Development Kit. So what this project aims to do is allow civic hackers and innovators, entrepreneurs within communities throughout the country to use software to solve the most pressing problems within those same communities. And so as you can see, the city is very much at the core of this ecosystem. This project is completely transparent. It's open source on GitHub. You can go look at our Agile Scrum boards and see everything that we're working on. And we encourage you within the communities to tell us, I would like this feature so I can use open data more effectively. The problem we're trying to solve is that unlike Android or iOS development kits, there's not a similar analog for creating an application specifically for your community. So data resides in silos at the federal, the state, and the local level. And what we want to do is allow, through software, entrepreneurs and developers to more quickly develop transformative products. Those products can be used for starting a company. They can be used for social good. Or they could be used to show city leadership an innovation dashboard, for example, within that city. So we're super excited. The call to action that I want to leave you with today is if you'd like to sign up your city to be a part of this initiative from Census, Commerce, Labor, HUD, EPA, and Interior, please tweet at me, Jeff_Meisel, or find me later today in the unconference portion of this event. I'd love to engage with you. I'd love to get your feedback and figure out how we can take this into your community. And I also wanted to point out this is not just for cities per se, this is for rural communities, and it's for any type of ecosystem that you're trying to foster in your respective areas. So thank you so much.
How's it going? Come on, we can do better than that. How you guys doing? All right. And hello to my family and friends at home from New Jersey. My name is Aaron Price. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm the founder of the New Jersey Tech Meetup. I started this group 5 years ago, actually almost to the day. This Sunday marks the 5th year anniversary of when I launched that group, thinking originally that it might be 20 of us. I'd let you clap if I had more time, but he's going to kill me. There would be 20 of us in a room just sharing ideas and war stories about our startup experiences. And here we are 5 years later, and it's grown into the state's largest technology entrepreneurship group. That graph on your left there shows the actual growth of our membership base. And it's opened my eyes to the power of community and some of the amazing things that can happen when you bring entrepreneurs and technologists together. And so I want to share a little bit about what I've learned there. We meet monthly, by the way, at the Stevens Institute of Technology in Hoboken, where our format is 30 minutes of networking, three startups present, and then we hear from a speaker, generally some tech luminary, people like Scott Heiferman and others you've probably heard of, with our goal to help people meet one another and to learn something, inspire and be inspired. And so first, from a community standpoint, when Hurricane Sandy slammed the state of New Jersey, and where I'm from in Hoboken, we wanted to do something to give back. And so inspired by the Jersey Shore Tech Meetup, where they launched a crowdfunding campaign, we did the same thing. And I got about a dozen volunteers together, and in the matter of 48 hours, we launched a crowdfunding campaign called Heal Hoboken, where we sold t-shirts and hoodies, and in just a week raised over $32,000 to give back to people whose lives were devastated by this storm. And so that was a really amazing thing that was much greater than technology and a great way to give back. I've also learned a lot about what it means to be part of the startup ecosystem. And one thing, as we've talked about today, is the need for space. And so along with some peers at the Meetup, we recruited a local real estate developer and started Hoboken's first co-working space called Mission 50, which is thriving and actually just raised some more capital to open an additional space. So that was another very proud moment for our group and also a necessary requirement for what we see as the legs of the stool for what makes a strong startup ecosystem. And so thinking with that in mind, I think of the startup ecosystem as having not just community, which I think is very important, like we're representing here today, but also space, investment capital, talent, and a strong press behind the ecosystem. And those things are growing, but a little bit immature where we are in New Jersey. And we live in the shadow of New York. And so I hear all the time, what the heck's going on in New Jersey, and who cares? Which is a little frustrating. I'm guessing that's something that may resonate with some of the people in this room. And so I feel really strongly that there is a lot going on outside of the fantastic hubs of New York and San Francisco and maybe Boston and some others. I'm sure there's people here who would extend that range. But that there's actually, technology is a very democratizing tool. And so there's so much going on around the entire country. And so a few of us got together, and we're actually launching today something called themapped.com. The Mapped helps answer that question of what's going on with technology in my backyard. So if you're an individual, if you're a startup, if you're an investor, if you're a space, if you're a school, you can pin yourself to this map to help answer that question of what's going on in your backyard. Or maybe you could find some people to work on your ideas or grab coffee or talk about your potentially crazy startup ideas. And so I invite you guys all to pin yourselves to the map. I'm going to try to see if we can spread the word and expose your communities in the process. Because with the New Jersey Tech Meetup and with themapped.com, we believe that home is where your startup is. Thank you.
Megan, come on up. I know you have a few thoughts for us before we go on to our next phase.
Okay, yeah, I'm sure everyone in this room is like, oh, I got an idea, I got this, I got that. A couple things I thought of. First off, just completely, I've been hoping for the mapped.com. We've been talking about all these places, these federal places we have that we'd love to know where they are, but where is everything? You know, from physical spaces like Fab Labs and tech stops and all those places we could be meeting, shared spaces. So love it. I just wanted to tell you about two things I thought of so far. One is about the diaspora. So all of us are from somewhere, and so all of us live somewhere now. And sometimes those places don't match, and sometimes they do. And so in my case, I'm from Buffalo, and I remember finding out that there was a really cool startup lab called Z80 in the Buffalo News downtown, and showing up and talking to them. Nebraska and the Nebraska JS made me think of this, which is Evan Williams, who created Blogger on Twitter, and is part of the Medium, and that crew is from Nebraska. And so, there's all these folks who might be sort of out there as sort of venture capitalists or founders. Think of that as serial entrepreneur teammates who aren't in your location, but you could get them to your event, and they care a lot about their home. I remember seeing Jack Dorsey from Square, really showing up in St. Louis. One of the things I'd share on that is that the Launch Code team is an amazing nonprofit, a lot like Code Crew, where you can come together and learn together. And that really came out of Jack and Jim, who are the founders of Square, going back to St. Louis, where they're from, and saying, what could we do here, and trying to open a Square office, and finding that they kept recycling the same people from all the tech communities, and they're like, but there's all these other people, just like you guys found in San Antonio, and how do we get the rest of the people in on this game? And they actually focused in on a particular group of folks in St. Louis, which were actual coders, but they were out of work. And they were people who had kind of older languages. We all know, certainly in the coding space, in 5, 6, 3, even 3, 4, 2 years, what you need to learn the next thing. And so they created a learning space for already knowing how to do this stuff, but needing to upgrade your skills to the new languages, and then worked with all of the local employers in St. Louis to hire folks, and they created an apprentice onboarding. So a couple months of coming up to speed, actually co-doing the Harvard online class together, and then on in. So just thinking about, as we got our ideas, where are our resources everywhere? Who are our diaspora that are really from our place that also could come back? The last thing I say, I know that some of the U.S. Digital Service folks walked in. Who's here? Let's see, Erie, right there, Molly. So we've got, and also you just heard from Jeff, who's a Presidential Innovation Fellow. I see Clarence and Denise. So one of the things that we're doing in federal government, and I know some of the local city folks are doing too, is we need more TQ, like EQ, IQ, Tech Q, in government at the leadership tables. And so we're doing that. The president has really done an incredible job of pulling people in. We just had Jason Goldman join as the first chief digital officer of the White House. He is one of the Medium founders, Twitter early on, just to help us with our engagement. How do we do that? So just as we're thinking as tech meetups and as tech folks in all these communities, it's our country and our governments. So what are we doing to also engage in that world? And so letting you guys know about the Presidential Innovation Fellows, who are a lot like entrepreneurs in residence. We have right now this year, it's 28 of them. Ryan, who's on my team, Deputy CTO, was a Presidential Innovation Fellow in the early crew, was in the healthcare.gov rescue, and is now doing this work with digital government. It's a way to come into government and really instigate. I think there's 28 PIFs right now in 11 agencies, from Census to Department of Energy, just innovating. And then there's the U.S. Digital Service, which is at whitehouse.gov/USDS, where you can find out more. And I think the way to think about this is some people can come full-time and want to do that, but we're also thinking about, just like the military, the reserves. We've had people come for 2 weeks. We've had people, right now we have an amazing group of people who know all about connectivity. I need to run over to the State Department and back. Just rock stars about like the backhaul and the plumbing layer of the internet. We need help doing that. 25% of Americans are not online. We've got to get that going for our rural kids, for our tribal kids, for our urban poor kids, for our schools. And so those Americans are showing up. I think the next PIF group is going to have connectivity folks, so those online come and apply and join us. But rotating in for periods of time, and then all of us know coming by.
Courage for all the speakers who got up here to, under 3 minutes, talk about everything they did. So first of all, join me in a round of applause for all of our speakers so far. Woo! Exactly. And We do not want to miss out on yet another amazing group of people. And so out of respect for them, more than the clock, be in your seats by 11:18. Restrooms are out this door. Make 2 rights to the main corridor, and we'll see you back here at 11:18. Thank you all.